Hi everyone, I am Nnenia Yasmeen, a fashion business consultant based out of New York City. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. As always, we're gonna jump right in because today we are talking about personal branding, and I want to share 5 tips to help you get started with creating your own personal brand. Whether you are a creative entrepreneur like myself, an aspiring influencer, or someone who's just looking for a career change, I believe personal branding is the key to standing out, building your own impact and influence, which will then lead to opportunities that will allow you to do what you love for a living. So in my previous video, I went in to explain my story about how I went from teaching English abroad to breaking into the fashion business industry as a fashion brand and retail tech consultant. I'll go ahead and link that above for anyone who wants to tune into that. Although I had made the decision that it was time for me to reimagine my life and career on my own terms, I was still applying to jobs in the meantime. I was super open to working another 9 to 5 as I figured out this next transition for myself. And at this time, the job market was crazy. There had been a ton of tech layoffs in 2023 as well as early 2024. So the job market was just super competitive. There were huge numbers of applicants compared to actual job opportunities. And I just realized early on that the traditional methods that we had come to know and depend on, like applying to a job and tailoring our resumes to the job description and sending cover letters, wouldn't quite be enough in this job market. I had to figure out a way that I could stand out amongst the crowd. And so with doing my research and trying to figure that out, that's when I came across a ton of videos and just information around creating a personal brand. So before we get into it further, I just want to give the definition of a personal brand for anyone who may be curious. I'll go ahead and read that from my laptop very quickly. A personal brand basically puts the intention and focus in your reputation and ensures other people see you the way you want to be seen. This includes highlighting the unique skills and qualities that set you apart, what people can expect from you. So essentially it's your reputation and legacy. So we all already have a personal brand. I think it's more so about being intentional about your personal brand. From this definition, what I kind of really pulled from it is that like your personal brand comes down to 3 main things, which is who you are, your why or your purpose, and how you'll go about advertising these things. So I'd say step number 1 when it comes to creating your personal brand is finding niche and audience. And I know this term has been used and abused. We've heard it before a number of times, but I do understand the importance of being clear on where you want to position your brand. When we throw out words like entrepreneur or influencer or fashion, these are huge industries. These are very broad terms, and it is important to know where you want to fall under that umbrella. It'll only help you as you start your journey and start to navigate these spaces. I went from teaching English abroad to breaking into the fashion business industry. I had always personally been interested in fashion. That was kind of like a personal passion of mine, but I also understood the importance of business, and that was something I wanted to learn more about, which is kind of where the entrepreneurial endeavors came about. So I was able to combine my personal passions with my professional skills and corporate experience. And to take it even a step further, I knew as it pertained to fashion, I was really passionate about supporting independent brands, emerging designers, small businesses, and small business owners. For other people that want to break into fashion or align themselves with fashion, this could look like taking the sustainable route or the luxury route, right? So I think, again, just taking mental notes of what makes you unique and what value you can bring, or what's just gonna personally drive you, will then help you determine your niche or your audience or your position within these broader industries. Number 2 is developing your brand story. This is what's going to allow you to stand out. Again, we have these really broad terms within these industries, but there's also a lot of people that are going to share the same interests as you. There's never going to be a shortage of talented people in the world, smart people in the world, beautiful people in the world. But what's really going to set you apart every single time, without a doubt, is you, who you are, your experiences, your story, what you've been through. No one else can take from you. So really understanding that and developing that into something compelling that you can share with people would allow them to resonate with you, connect with you, support you. I actually took a creative accelerator course a couple months ago by an entrepreneur, Alex Wolf, and she gave us a framework when it comes to developing your brand story. And it was basically having an understanding of where you were, where you are, and where you're going. And this could be as broad as you want it to be, if you want to look at your life as a whole, or again, if you know your niche, you know your audience, then you can zoom in and kind of develop it based on your industry. Having an idea of what that is and getting it out on paper, practicing it, is going to be so important. Number 3 is crafting your visual identity. This is something I'm still currently working on. I think this is the one, I think number 3 and 4 are the ones that are most challenging for me. A lot of us are visual learners, right? A lot of people are going to remember you as a person or a brand or a product based on how they visually showcase themselves. And so being intentional about that can take you and your personal brand a lot further than I think the everyday person realizes. Again, you just want, when people are thinking about you or if they see other things, your visual identity is what's going to allow them to remember you. This is what's going to stick to their brain. As someone who's a little more introverted and reserved and a homebody, when I am intentional about what I have on and how I'm showing up, it's a conversation starter. It's a way for people, again, to see how you express yourself. It's a way for people to get an idea of who you are without having to say anything. And also, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you naturally walk and talk different. So yeah, I think this is one of my favorite tips out of the 5. Definitely one of the most challenging, but it's a non-negotiable in my opinion. My camera died and I completely lost my momentum. I think I left off on step number 4, which is building your online presence. This, in addition to number 3, is one I find the most challenging. I've had a hate-love relationship with social media for years, with one foot in, one foot out. But since I've done more research on building and developing a personal brand, as well as just networking more, going to more events, and establishing relationships within the industry I want to break into, I really understand the importance of using social media and technology as a tool for bigger reach. But I think just having an established corner of the internet will also help you with, again, your credibility and your reputation when you're meeting people out in the world. Using social media as a way to stay connected, stay top of mind when opportunities come about is a great use of social media, as well as, again, when you are developing your visual identity. This is a great way for people to remember you and to stand out amongst the crowd. When sharing your brand story, this is how you can reach people further beyond just your everyday life. And going back to step number 1, just deciding your audience or your niche, again, this having an online presence will allow you to discover who they are and have reach with them and create your own community. So there are a number of reasons why I think building an online presence is a non-negotiable. And just with where technology is today, there are so many different outlets that you can choose from. So you do have the option to kind of figure out which ones may work for you and where you want to align yourself. But again, you can just use it as a way to showcase your experience, your skills, your story, and allow it to speak for you in places that you cannot physically be. It's been a pill that I've had to swallow, so I definitely want to share that with you guys. And then step 5 is networking and building relationships. This is also just another non-negotiable. I think there's a saying, if you want to go, I don't know, something about, if you want to do something, go alone. If you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, do it with people. I don't know, there's a saying like that somewhere, and I think that relates perfectly to networking and building relationships, especially when you're trying to break into an industry that you already don't have a reputation in. I think, again, connecting with others, supporting others will allow you to have doors opened up that can just save time in the long run and prevent you from having to jump through so many hoops on your own, because other people also have their own personal brands. They also have their own experience and skills that they've developed, and networks and relationships that they've built. So again, joining forces with them, supporting them, building community in that way will only allow your name to be said in rooms that they may not be said in any other circumstance. I explained it in my previous video. If it weren't for the networks, if it weren't for the network and the relationships that I started to build, I would not be doing what I'm doing now. I've heavily depended on building relationships and just getting in front of people, meeting people, socializing. I've realized in order to do what I love for a living and accomplish my goals and get to where I want to go, I've had to step outside of my comfort zone and put myself out there, and networking and building relationships is definitely a part of that. So yeah, those are the 5 tips that I wanted to share with you all today when it comes to creating a personal brand. I do think these steps will help you get started. Again, they're applicable to really any industry. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Definitely let me know, which one of these steps do you find most challenging? I did get some feedback and comments on my previous video about networking and relationship building. Those did not go unnoticed. Thank you so much for the feedback. So I do think I will make a separate video on that specifically. But if there are any other topics like me to kind of deep dive into, let me know. And again, just on my channel in general, I will be sharing more of my personal journey as I craft my visual identity, specifically as it pertains to my personal style, as well as building my online presence. But that is it for now. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video.